This video is going to be about kind of my thoughts about getting into activism because it just seems kind of hard to me, so I'm going to kind of walk you through my process in thinking about that. There are a lot of problems that I care about. I care about racism, I care about climate change and about pollution, and I care about homelessness and health and mental health and LGBT rights and just a lot of things. And it takes a lot of effort to get into activism for any of those things. And so the first thing that I had to do was I had to just say, you know what, I can't work on every problem. And sometimes people are like, wait, but you need to fight for these people too. And it's like, I mean, somebody does need to fight for those people too, but I physically cannot. I need to focus on a couple problems because otherwise I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to be effective. So yeah, so that's the first thing. And so the two I've picked are environmental and then homelessness, because I think that if you fix homelessness, if people can have homes, then it's a lot easier for them to get a job, to hold a job, and to not have to turn to drugs. It's easier for them to function in general, and it's better for their mental health. It's better for all these things. And then climate change and environmental, because it's time sensitive and it needs to get resolved so that we don't drown in the ocean. I mean, I'm in Utah and I'm up high, so I am personally not going to drown, probably. Knock on wood. But it's still a problem, and Utah's in a heat wave right now. Other places are in heat waves. Places are on fire a lot. And air pollution's really bad, especially in Utah, because we have inversion during winter, and it's disgusting. So yeah, so those are my two problems that I'm focusing on. Recently, I've been trying to investigate environmental things, like how do I help with this? And so a lot of things are like, oh yeah, reduce your water use, reduce your electricity use. But then, like, you look at what is causing carbon dioxide and other things getting into the air. It's not the average person so much as corporations and like organizations. Like agriculture is a huge one. And like, I am not agriculture. I can help. I can eat less meat, and that will help agriculture produce less methane and less carbon dioxide, but it just feels negligible. And so it's hard to make those changes. It's hard to figure out how to cook more vegan things and how to navigate that whole thing and change routines and change habits. And it just doesn't feel like it would do that much. And maybe it does do more than I think, but it's kind of depressing to think that I'm putting in all this effort to changing and trying to be better, and it just doesn't matter. And that's the main thing, is I feel like what I do doesn't matter. Which I'm working on. I'm working on remembering that, you know what, maybe it helps even a little. Like if you spit in the ocean, you technically made it bigger. But yeah, so looking into environmental things, a lot of what I've noticed is that there's a lot of organizations that you can donate money to. Like they'll plant trees or they'll do this and that and that. And it just feels like the main way I can help the environment is by making money and then giving it to people who will use it to help the environment. Which I know, I'm going to college, like I don't have a ton of money, and so it's kind of disheartening that it feels like I can't do something because I don't have money. So like I've installed Ecosia. It's a search engine that their ads pay money to plant trees in various places. And so like that's a free way that I can kind of help donate money, but I don't know how helpful that is. I know that Ecosia is legit, so there's that. They're very open about like, here's where we planted trees, here's videos of us doing that, here's our finance report. Like, okay, I trust them. So that's good. It's still something, and it's a passive way of helping. So it's mentally easy, because some things are so draining. I also work on trying to be zero waste. Well, okay, I know that I'm not ever going to be zero waste, but I am working to reduce how much waste I bring into the house and how much leaves and stuff. So I do that by recycling. I do that by using reusable things. I've recently kind of gotten my family on board with using fabric napkins instead of paper, because that was just a problem for us. And so I think that's been going okay. Hopefully we'll stick with that. But yeah, so those are things that I think help, because the more things we produce, the more energy it takes to produce things. And so like it does matter what a consumer does, because the more demand there is for something, the more it's produced, unless there's like forced scarcity, but anyway, in general. And so if we use water bottles, like reusable ones, more, then plastic ones aren't going to be used as much, which is important because plastic is not decomposable. It just breaks down into smaller and smaller plastic bits, and then a lot of it ends up in the ocean, into the various gyres, like the one that's as big as Texas and quite deep. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch. You can look into that. It's kind of cool. Like, if it weren't hurting animals and nature, but it's kind of fascinating that there's just so much plastic in one place. Anyway, so I guess if you have thoughts about how can the individual affect things, like how can we make an impact, like what's the best way, because that's another thing that bugs me, is I could spend money doing this and that, or spending time doing things like going and cleaning a hiking trail, but is it better to go clean by a river, for instance? Like, I think that is better because ecosystems develop around water, and so it makes sense that a place that is more wild and has water needs to be taken care of, like it's a higher priority than just a hiking trail. But then, is it even worth cleaning the places? Like, would it be better to focus on reducing how much plastic gets made in the first place? Like, I've cleaned by a river, and I've cleaned on trails, and a lot of what I find is fast food stuff. McDonald, Starbucks, like various bags and various cups and things, and water bottles, because it's a hiking trail, and people will just throw their stuff away on the ground, which is annoying. So maybe it would be better to push for fast food restaurants and stuff having reusable cups. So at the first window, you give them your cups or whatever, or maybe at the second window where you get your food, you pass them your cups, they fill them, they give them back to you. At 7-Eleven, you can buy those jugs that are refillable, and then at a movie theater near me, you can buy cups, and then getting drinks is cheaper in them because you paid that first amount for them, and so they're very nice, and you just wash them, and then you take them back to fill them, and you just have these cups that are specifically for that place. So maybe that would be better to work on, is to reduce how much plastic is getting to rivers in the first place, rather than cleaning up what's already there while more is coming in. But you can keep doing this. You can keep saying, well, what about this and what about that? What is the thing that is the best use of my time? And I've decided you just have to pick what is good enough, and you have to just do something, because otherwise you're just going to spend all this time researching and no time doing. And doing is the important part. I feel like a lot of the ways that people can help the environment and like reduce homelessness is through politics, is through science, is through becoming a city planner, or like these specific jobs. And I'm not a social person. I can't be a politician. I am not really into science. Like, it would be a ton more work to drag myself into that field and force myself to do it than it would be to do other things. And so right now I'm working towards a degree in entertainment arts and engineering, which is basically video game design and like simulations and stuff. Like, it feels so frivolous, but it's something I will actually enjoy doing in my day-to-day life. But it just feels selfish to do that instead of going and being a climate scientist or an inventor, or work on being a city planner and designing parks in various places and like low-income housing and stuff. Something that has helped me fight that is remembering that my happiness matters too. And then also, it's hard to save the world when you're depressed. It's hard to want to help others when you are sad. So my happiness has to come first for me. And so I think that's an important rule. And for me, that means pursuing video game design, as frivolous as it sounds. And ideally, I will make a good amount of money from that, and then I can use money to help things. I tried joining the club called Environmental Ambassadors at a college by me. And like, they plant trees on campus. I helped plant a couple trees. But the meetings didn't seem like they were about doing things. It was more about learning about things. And that just isn't what I want. I want to go do things. I want someone to tell me, this is a worthwhile project, let's go do it. And I'll be like, yes, I will be part of your person power, your manpower, or whatever. And we'll get this done. And so recently I joined Rotary, the Rotary chapter near me. But their priorities are different than mine. They don't prioritize fighting homelessness. They don't prioritize fighting climate change. And so that's kind of frustrating to me. So I am helping people, but not in the ways that I value the most. And so I'm still trying to figure out the answer to this problem. I'm still trying to figure out, how can I help in a meaningful way? So if you have organizations or volunteer places, especially in Utah, 'cause that's where I'm at, let me know. I would like to know, I guess, what needs doing, and how do I get involved? How can I help?